What do you think downhillers can learn from XC and vice versa?
Um, I think a lot of the downhill, obviously, it's a different profile already from of personality, but for sure the working ethic of cross country.
Yeah,
Uh,
professionalism's like a new
and
next level.
exactly the professionalism. For example, like you see, I mean, it's not as bad as back in the day, but you see like people finishing runs in downhill and they're chilling in the finish line even if it's cold for a while. You don't see cross
I don't
country.
understand that. I'm like
Yeah,
shouting at the screen, like, "Hey!"
yeah,
Especially with the semi to the final. I'm like, "What are you doing?" Your
yeah.
manager can tell you the times of the rest of the guys. Yeah, I saw
Yeah.
that.
So it's like so small things like this. For example, like if you need to make some sacrifices in diet, for example, if you need to get to the place and it's like, okay, I don't have a spinning bike, but I can go for a jog. Let's go for a jog. Let's do this. Let's do gym sessions. Like so, just importing some of it. I'm not saying they do the same thing because they are completely different disciplines. Cross country, the main thing they need to understand and learn from the talent and the riding. So basically, the technique. Because at the end it also counts and it counts every day more in cross country, so you need to realize like look at these downhill guys, they're not crazy. I always said like the downhill guys are not crazy, or downhill athlete, whether it's a female or a male, they're not crazy. No one that is crazy gets top 10 at the World Cup. Before getting to the level of top 10 they kill themselves. It's an elimination because you don't make it to the level if you're crazy, because you're gonna hit the ground hard and you're gonna get hurt. So you might make it like like a spike all of a sudden, like pop, you get up there, but if you're risking too much because it's all based in bravery and because you really like you don't really care of the consequences at all, that's not gonna last long. So whoever has got a successful career and they can sustain that, that's because they are not crazy. Obviously, you need to aim for risking. You kind of like the risk aspect of the sport, but you're super talented. You know how far you can take it, and you take it to the edge. When you take it to the edge, sometimes the coin flips, and obviously you crash. But you take it to the edge. So that talent, that sharpness that the downhill athletes have, that's something the cross country can really import. Can absolutely really
Yeah, I
import.
agree. Everyone asks me, "How do you do it? What do you think about it?" I'm like, I think we're just so prepared. There's a level of risk, but by the time you do a downhill race run, you should know every single route and pebble and the speed you've decided to go. You do up at a level, and like you say, the crashes that happen in race runs, they're not that often. Now with the competition a little bit more, I don't know if you compare the 2000s, 2010 versus 2020, more crashes in race runs now. I think the level, like, people are willing to risk more, but they're not crazy.
I mean, obviously, the sport has evolved to where the times are tighter. Yes, the times are really
Yeah.
tighter. On some of the tracks, we can see that you see more gaps. Like it also happened in the past. In the past was all actually like sometimes more gaps than rather super close, but it was more natural terrain. Let's suppose nowadays, I think there is like everyone is. I would not say like in all in the same line, but the lines are not as different as before, and also they have more stuff to push, so they are more on rails, and that makes tighter times. And also the sport has evolved, so where the guys are like similar to the point where like when you get to the races, like the bikes are set up, all the bikes are really similar, so it has like brought them to like a narrow band. But I think mainly it's because like really like the tracks is like they have the track so dialed, there's no variables instead of like the track changing. Some of the races you can see like they have more gaps, some others are like they are tighter. In terms of like competition, when you look at the list of the 90s, I mean, you look at the names, some of the people don't remember, but I mean, it was your teammate. It started for US, you have Carter, King, Miles Rockwell, you have Palmer, Tomac. You got a bunch of guys that were fast. The Frenchies were also fast. Australians would come mid late 90s, but they were also fast. So names, I think names and competition has always been. I mean, if you want to make it to the top of the sport, it's always huge level everywhere, huge level everywhere. I think nowadays because of the tight times, they need to risk probably even more than we would risk. So they need to like you really need to nail your run if you want to meet to the top. If you make a slight mistake, that 1 or 2 seconds that sets you back too far. Well, in the past,
Yeah.
probably the consequences were not as bad.
Yeah, maybe there's the risk, but there's also the level that you have to be so clinically clean and get your 100% run.
Yes,
When the day you could make an error or two, and then maybe,
and come
yes,
back.
time is lost, push a
Yeah,
bit, and you could
yeah,
come back and be like, okay, I'm
yeah,
I'm eighth, but that was a podium
yeah.
time if
But
I didn't mess up. Now it's like, you know, I see it when people are coming back from injury, and even Loic, he had to come back and you get 25th. But it's like, you can't be that despondent, because if you look at the time gap, 2-3 seconds off where you want to be, or 2 seconds off. I mean, that really is not a lot.
yeah, yeah. So I think it's what also like. I mean, they wanted the sport to be like this also. To be exciting, to be watching on TV, the times being tight, the people risking, and then sometimes having the consequence of a crashing. But it's like real, like you see people like riding at the very edge. If there is a mistake of 2 or 3 seconds, you're not coming back. It's like it's lost.
No, not in
Back in
this
the
day and
day,
age. Do you
sometimes
like?
you make a mistake, maybe you can come back still a little bit. Nowadays, you're not coming back from a mistake like this. You're not making the time that easy.